there was one, this one might be interesting. There was one question, and we certainly that was just leading up to this, but it comes up a lot with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, where the first assumption might be like a Theralac Pro with the lactobacillus, because they can handle oxygen, they're going to colonize more in the small intestine, so it's kind of like area of emphasis versus the bifidobacteria in the colon. But there might be some L and D lactic acid implications here. Is there anything, Jeff, to speak of on SIBO, just to touch on that for the one question, and just since it does come up?
I've always kind of had a question on SIBO, SIBO, whatever you want, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Is it because you're starting to get an anaerobic condition in the small intestine, and you're getting different organisms to be growing? Because that ileocecal valve, you go from, into an anaerobic environment, which is where bifidobacteria are going to predominate. Or is it just the wrong food feeding the wrong guys? And they're just proliferating, because if you like chocolate and I like vanilla, and we put chocolate in the system, you're going to do better than I am. So is all of that part of it? And is it triggered by antibiotics? Is it triggered by just a poor diet? To me, if you and I can occupy the same space at the same time. So if I can push you out and recolonize that spot, I'm going to be there. And I think that's going to have some impact on how people respond as well.
There might be something worth also exploring in terms of the N=1 experience, where if two people have the same SIBO diagnosis, one may respond to Theralac Pro better, one may respond to True Bifido Pro better. And that's one of the things as a clinician that you can't throw out in just wanting to know what does the person say is the best thing. I've had multiple occasions where I've tried something that theoretically made sense, and I went with a plan B after plan A didn't work, no matter how much I wanted it to. So with SIBO, it may just be that person's aggregation of scenarios lent itself better to bifido because theirs was more of an inflammatory problem. And if it was a lactic acid problem, we know that SIBO likely predisposes the generation of leaky gut. So the lactic acid problem is only a problem when it gets into the bloodstream relative to the colon or small intestine. We can't also discount the influence of gallbladder and liver dysfunction in SIBO, right? Because what the gallbladder does is the liver makes bile, the gallbladder concentrates bile, and bile is there to emulsify fats, and also it helps us to metabolize fat-soluble vitamins, but it has two additional roles within the gut. Bile acts as a solvent, a soap, because bile is a very, very, it's an inhospitable substance to bacterial species. So if there's an overgrowth in the small intestine and there's not enough bile being released to wipe it out, that could be predisposing someone. But bile also has a trigger in the colon in the form of what's called the secondary bile acid, which also maintains the balance and the overall populations of bacteria in the colon as it relates to the immune system. So SIBO, in my opinion, is a holistic digestive system issue. And in some cases, Jeff, you're bang on. The Theralac and their ability to crowd out and produce lactic acid and alter the pH in the environment should be the go-to logically when it comes to SIBO. However, sometimes because someone's more lit up than a Christmas tree, they may need something to bring them down from an inflammatory perspective. That's when I would go bifido, but you can't take out the role of using enzymes or something as a digestive agent in addition, so you're being more complete in your top-down, bottom-up approach.
Sounds like the master philosophy to me of not wanting to skip over that phase 1A where we talk about digestion before probiotic colonization, even just because it's happening first, and you don't want to just all the work you could do in the gut, if you're not addressing digestion or what you're digesting.